22, Leeds Rhinos 18, 2-1 in the series now for St Helens this season. Great win this one for Saints, of course, with all of those players out off the back of the Challenge Cup. No Walmsley, no Parsley, no Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook, to name but three. And of course, no Percival. He wasn't back either, was he? This was backs against the wall stuff from the champions, and they came out fighting very, very well indeed. I mean, couple of really poor performances in here, it has to be said. Johnny Lomax's not at his normal best. Four errors in a game, Johnny. What's all that about? And Jared O'Connor as well. He had a real torrid 10 minutes, didn't he? 3 mistakes from him also in this game. It was a really topsy-turvy kind of game. Started off superbly well for St Helens without a party try early doors. He had a great game, didn't he? Give credit where credit's due to Will. I mean, I don't actually think he should have got the man of the match award. Don't get me wrong. Fine performance, a try, 2 assists. He played well, the lad. But for me, he was nowhere near as good as his number one. We'll come back to him in a moment. But of course, one player who continues to impress at centre this season is Rhys Martin. He's been put there this year, of course, due to injuries and people being out, etc., etc. And he's not disappointed. Another brilliant try, lovely step off his left foot. You know, weaved his way in. Really solid stuff, that one from Martin. 10 tries now for Rhys Martin this season. Superb stuff indeed. And then Sam Walters. Who'd have thought that Sam Walters had signed for Wigan? Oh yes, the Phil Clark loving on Sky for Mr. Walters. If he weren't going to the Cherry and Whites next year, he probably wouldn't say an awful lot about him. But because he is, he's suddenly the best thing since sliced bread. Oh, yes. Philip, nothing like a bit of biases there, Mr. Clark. But there you go. But it has to be said, great try, that one from Walters. And, of course, that gave the Rhinos a 12-6 lead before Ritson right on the hooter. Critical moment in the game, that, wasn't it? When Ritson went in on the left-hand side, set up, of course, from his centre, a party yet again. And then we come into the second half. Of course, yes, McDonald scored. He did give the Rhinos an 18-16 lead, but of course that was in the middle of 2 brilliant Jack Welsby tries. Oh yes, Jack Welsby, of course, was in our team of the month for June. Will he be there again for July? One thing's for certain, he's in the box seat when it comes to team of the week. Oh yes, superb, absolutely superb Jack Welsby. Mr. Clark in commentary said perhaps the best player in the comp. I don't think anybody can argue with that. The NRL will of course be watching Mr. Welsby, I'm sure, from afar. But that marquee money, I'm sure, has been put to one side by Mr. McManus in order to keep Mr. Welsby at the Red V. But yeah, I mean, the first try was nice. Again, a party getting involved with the setup there. But the second one was a thing of absolute beauty. Oh, yes. Superb stuff from Mr. Welsby. The afterburners went on, showed his quality, showed his class, and he went. What a stellar season he is having. 19 appearances now for Welsby in Super League, 8 tries and 21 assists. Absolutely brilliant from Jack. He really is box office quality, isn't it? I mean, as a neutral in this game, it's great to see the greatest players playing some superb rugby league football, and that's exactly what Mr. Welsby did. It was an untidy game. It weren't a great game, I have to say. And I think what was really, really poor from Sky, and I have to say this, yes, I think Mr. Wellens came out of the Challenge Cup, and rightly so, asked a question about Asiata. Yes, there's nothing illegal about what Asiata did in the semi-final, but of course, on the eye, it did look a little bit poor. But then James Bell does exactly the same technique, and Sky, even though at half-time they highlighted it, did not have the bottle to question Mr. Wellens on camera about his own player. Oh, dearie me. And that is what really infuriates me. Poor journalism, poor punditry, get into the ribs. Let's see what Mr. Wellens had to say about Mr. James Bell. Of course, you know, if you can't beat them, join them and all that. But what a missed opportunity. I'd have loved to have seen Mr. Wellens sweat on camera and see what he had to say about that one. But of course, now St. Helens up to 4th place in Super League with that game in hand against the Huddersfield Giants, and the Saints are coming. They're going to have to do it tough. We know that, you know, based on the injuries that they've got there. Packers took a hammer blow. And one player for me, you know, we've been critical of him all season. Not necessarily critical of him. He's a fine player, but in terms of his standing amongst these compadres at the loose forward position, has been Morgan Knowles. But, you know, I have to say, Mr. Knowles stepped up in this one, and congratulations must go to him. 36 tackles in defence, 125 metres with ball in hand on 20 carries. That's not something that you normally see from Mr. Knowles. That's about 40, maybe 50 metres more than his usual game. But he put his hand up. He knew that that the players around him really needed a talisman, and he said, give me the ball, let's show them what I'm made of. And he did brilliantly well. So congratulations, of course, must go to Morgan. No, see, we're all fair here on Super League Raw. Yes, we'll give out a few little digs here and there, and we'll call it out when we think that people are being a bit too generous to players, or the overcalling the talent, or whatever it may be. But equally, we also recognise when a player has a fine game, and Mr. Knowles in this one, sir, you had a fine game, but nowhere near as good as Mr. Jack Wellsby. How didn't he get the man of the match on Sky? I will never know. I mean, again, odd. I can't wait to see what the Goldthorpe have got to say on Monday morning, but absolutely brilliant by Mr. Jack Wellsby. Right, let's get into where these two teams are going next. The next up for St Helens will be the Salford Red Devils next weekend. Then, of course, that Huddersfield game at the Totally Wicked Stadium, and then Hull KR at home. That'll be a tough one as well. Of course, that will be on the other side of the Challenge Cup. So will that maybe play into St Helens' hands there? Will there be a little bit of a hangover from the Challenge Cup when that fixture comes around? We'll have to, of course, wait and see. As for the Leeds Rhinos, well, next up for them will be the Lee Leopards, again, just before the Challenge Cup final against Hull KR. So again, that could be a fortuitous one for them at home against Lee. But Lee will want to go into that, I'm sure, with a win under their belt. And then it's the Warrington Wolves on the other side of that before going to Huddersfield Giants away. So, Leeds absolutely still in it in terms of the potential of perhaps getting into the playoffs. They're on 18 points. They're only a couple of points, maybe about 4 points off playoff positions. But the playing teams around them there, the likes of Warrington, they've not got it. Haven't had it their own way of late. They could start faltering. A massive game for them this weekend, of course, against Wakefield Trinity. But what an incredible season we're having here in Super League. St Helens, after a really, really slow start, are starting to get into their groove. Do I think that those injuries that they've sustained is the difference between them winning the grand final and not? Well, I'm going to say it right here, right now. I do. I think that is going to really hurt them. They can't afford to lose many more St Helens. Yes, they've got the quality in the backs without doubt, but I just think that punch in the middle, especially at the business end of the season, will catch them out. They are. I've said it. I'm there to be shot down. I did say new name on the trophy this season. I stand by that, albeit I think Wigan is somebody that we're going to need to keep an eye on as well, especially with the signing of Tyler Dupree. More about that on another episode of In the Sheds. But this was a good win from St Helens. It could have easily have gone against them. They could have been licking the wounds off the back of that Challenge Cup. They needed to come back firing. They did come back firing. It was the performance of champions. It takes a championship performance, a team that are together, who have got that winning mentality to do what they did against Leeds on Friday night. So nothing to say other than absolute congratulations to them. St Helens 22, the Leeds Rhinos 18. Don't forget, subscribe, like, comment, and tell your friends about us. That's been In the Sheds. We'll see you next time.